So at this point, we should be taking a step back and taking a look at our resolution. We've gone ahead, got a little bit forward since the last video in the adding of edge loops, and we've kind of gotten to the point where we can take a look at our car model and the different viewports, and it's starting to look pretty good. I think we can go ahead and maybe attach these side mirrors now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with it in side view, and I'm going to start by creating a box cube, and on my shelf I've got that shortcut, so we'll just line that up, and then we'll make sure that we line it up in top view as well. Okay, and see right now that the geometry on the car maybe still needs a little more rounding off. So let's grab an edge here and let's pull it in a little bit. I may end up adding a few more edge loops when all is said and done. We were at 1,600 triangles, and our goal was to try to keep this whole project under 3,000. So we still have a bit of wiggle room here. So it's like what's going on here. I'll close this up. Oops. Let's see. Let's start from this edge. Close it up there. I'm not gonna bother you with too much of this cleanup work, but you can see that you don't want to have these five-sided polys. There we go. All right. So continue. Oh, what were we doing? We were doing the side mirrors. Okay, great. So we have our box here, and what I'm going to do is make another row of edges here, and I know that the shape, I could start just looking at eyeballing the shape and seeing, okay, so it sticks out a little bit, and it's a little bit higher over here. And we can really quickly just bust out, so it looks like we're going to need one edge loop straight down the middle. And that's still got that setting for insert edge flow, so I'm going to remove that on the tool. That's why it sort of bent that edge in. That's okay. Now, if you look at it from the top, have to start lining it up so that it matches that shape. So we're going to need some cuts here. I'll go ahead and create another edge loop here and here. It's like that one didn't want to carry over, so we'll remove that. And another tool I like to use is the slide edge tool here. So when you're in that tool, you can middle mouse and slide your edge down. It's great. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let's look at the reference again. Let's turn off the polys here. Okay, so it looks like it extrudes out from the bottom and attaches on the bottom here. So let's extrude this in. I'm going to scale it up a bit. Turn this back on. And basically, get the shape going as well as you can without adding too much resolution. See how I'm kind of modeling in the front view, but looking at it in 3D. And let's see it maybe starts coming together a little bit better. See, if I really want to line it up and be accurate, I would do another extrusion here. So I'll go ahead and do that. And now I can sort of scale it. Oops. Let's just snap to there for now. All right, so we can move the edges on the mesh around, no big deal. So what I'm going to do is on the car mesh, if I go to isolate selection, you can see I don't need this face right here anymore. And if I grab this and combine, and then do a merge of vertices, now see that when I move edges, that we have a welded object. The side mirror is welded to the car body, and they two are now one solid mesh. So if I duplicate it, we've kind of got, it looking okay. And you're at this point get the idea, so you can go on and make this as close to perfect as you want. I would probably just keep an eye out on adding too much resolution to small things like this. It's unnecessary. So now we're going to create our wheels. And so for me, I like to work with the orthographic view and the perspective view. So if you go to your Create menu, Polyprimitive Cylinder, and Interactive Creation, then it will orient whichever view you begin creating your model, your primitive. So since I want it oriented along the x-axis, it draws it sort of upright, and then it gives me this other once I let go, it gives me this other mouse cursor, and then you can see that I can pull the faces out whichever way I choose, and I'm able to now see it finish it up, and I can move it very quickly into place. And so that's looking pretty decent just for the starting point. Okay. And I'm going to keep my subdivisions at 20. That's rounded enough. And okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and there's a couple different ways I could grab all the edges on the inside and the outside and do my bevel. And I could bring the fraction is what makes brings the size down. So that's one way you could do it, or you could actually go in and grab just the faces on the outside, and you could create a bevel by doing an extrude faces, and with this option for fly out, you can bring it out a little bit. Oops. And then offset it a little bit. You might have to come in and actually put smaller values. Let's try 03. Even lower maybe. 01. And the thickness could be 05 maybe. No. Let's try this. You understand the concept. The offset. There we go. And we have our wheel. You could go a step further and selecting the faces again and doing an extrude again, and then I could just scale all of them in, and that would give me sort of an edge to work with. So I'll move the whole wheel down a little bit. And if I wanted to have the same effect on the other side, I could do the same extrude operation or delete these faces and push this edge in until I got half of the tire. And I'll just put isolate selection so the other parts aren't in the way. And then when you finish it up on the other side, or this side, you duplicate it in the inverse X, and you see the same exact detail on both sides. So I'll do another extrude, and then I'll actually just push the faces in so it recesses a little bit, give it that actual loft that your tire and wheel have when they kind of meet each other there. And then I'm going to soften these these loops very quickly. Oh, that's good enough for me. So then I'll go ahead and remove the isolate selection, duplicate special, then I'll just merge these two. And grab this single row, and merge those vertices, and then depending on if you don't see any reason to keep this loop, so you could just delete it. And there you go. We have our simple wheel. I'm going to go ahead and create the spoiler. I'm going to do it from the rear here. I'm going to also do it as a separate object. So we got a cube, and we can make it very small because we're going to just work with it from. Now there's a couple ways we can do this mechanically. You know, I don't like it to look like this, and it's got this interesting. So one thing is I know I'm gonna be needing some resolution in here, so let's add some resolution there. That's good. Let's go back into perspective mode. One thing is you could use here are deformers. Deformers are kind of cool. So if I go to, first of all, let's make sure that is sort of the right width. Maybe a little wider and a little further out. So what deformers are, they're like curves that you can manipulate your geometry with. So I could go up to create nonlinear bend. And if you see this green line in here, now I've got this handle that I can mess with, and it will, oops, there we go. So it's got to be rotated in the X, I believe. No, we want to rotate it in the Z. There we go. So you can see, even though that's not really how our spoiler is supposed to look, you can see what it did there is that it gave me a node to play with in the curvature. So I do see that it curves down on the ends here, but what I'm really looking for is to curve it sort of around the back. So just keep playing with the position of the handle. There we go. So if I rotate it on 90 degrees Y and 90 degrees Z, it gives me, let's show you, a mathematical, there we go, sort of curvature. It's a nice curvature, equilateral on both sides. And once I've got it in a position that I like, I can go ahead and select the object that was the deformer was applied to, and I can delete the history, and now it's gone. And once I move the object, it stays in that position. So can see that the spoiler comes down at a point here. So at this point, I would maybe keep it in symmetry mode and go ahead and rotate this face. And then move it. And it can get tricky with such low resolution. Let's see that the whole spoiler should be a bit thinner and lower. But you get the drill. And then once it's happy with the way it looks, in fact, I could maybe round this off a little better just by moving this edge. And then I could offset those edges. Oops, for that edge. Come on. This tool is fussy, very fussy. There we go. Okay, so I've offset the edge and now I can delete that edge and it sort of rounds it off better. And I'm happy. It's good enough for me so that it reads pretty well. Looks like there's some sort of support maybe that I'm missing. But you can decide if you want to add that. Looks like maybe it comes up a little bit. But that is basically it. We covered a good bit here, and you could continue on adding, or optimizing areas so that you could add resolution where you'd want it. One thing I might recommend is making this nook with geometry. You could model out these air vent areas. And you could keep going with this if you choose to, but try to stay within this $3,000 triangle count. We're at it. We've reached it basically with the modeling that we did in this video. So I'm going to wrap it up, and in our next video we'll go ahead and talk about how to assign materials so that we can actually get texturing started. So I'll see you in the next video.